In 2021, we finally had the pleasure of visiting Holiday World and Splashin Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana for the coaster event of all coaster events, Holliwood Nights. Holliwood Nights is a coaster club event in which coaster enthusiasts young and old flock to the middle of nowhere, Indiana to get legendary night rides on the park's signature roller coaster, the Voyage. These aren't just any night rides, however. It's the one and only weekend of trimless rides on the Voyage. For trimless rides, the park's maintenance staff turns the midcourse trim brakes off so that riders can experience the Voyage at its full might. What did I think of trimless rides on the Voyage and Holliwood Nights as a whole? This is my experience at Holiday World on June 4th and 5th, 2021 on Coaster Jawn. Our first day at Holiday World began with a 6 to 7 hour long journey from Sandusky, Ohio, where we stayed the night after a great day at Cedar Point. The drive actually wasn't too bad, especially considering we gained an hour crossing into the Central Time Zone. We arrived at Holiday World just before noon Central Time.
We're at Holiday World. We're at Holiday World. We're gonna ride the Voyage. Oh my God.
And of course headed straight towards the Thanksgiving section of the park to ride the Voyage. Unfortunately, during the day, this massive Gravity Group wooden coaster still runs with the trim brakes on halfway through the ride. So we would have to wait until later that night during our exclusive ride time to ride the Voyage without trims. Even with those trims hitting halfway through the ride, Voyage still absolutely blew me away. Obviously, my expectations were pretty high, and luckily my first ride on the Voyage was in the back row. There's one word that perfectly describes this ride, and that's relentless. Here were me and my group's initial thoughts on the Voyage.
All right, so I just had my very first ride on the Voyage, a Gravity Group masterpiece. Oh my God, that thing was amazing. I still don't have much of a voice from yesterday at Cedar Point, but I drank some tea, did all that. I have a little bit more of a voice now, but hey, this thing is a top tier Woody. Not better than El Toro. Haven't ridden it without the trims yet, so I wouldn't know, but yeah, this thing is awesome. I'm gonna have to reevaluate my rankings, but this is up there. This is probably top 10, top 15. It is great. Love this thing. All right, Ryan, thoughts on the Voyage?
That is a great Gravity Group masterpiece.
I mean, that's what I said, but
so good. What?
A Gravity Group masterpiece.
Gravity Group masterpiece.
Where does it rank for you?
Overall, easily, I probably have it at either 7 or 8 in my top 10.
But ahead of Toro, you claim?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I don't know.
Definitely.
Toro has some pretty great ejector. That was solid. Definitely a longer layout, but hey, I mean, I agree. Solid coaster. Taylor, initial reaction to the Voyage?
Oh, my new favorite Woody for sure.
Themed to the Pilgrim's journey across the Atlantic in the Mayflower, the Voyage is truly a voyage through the wilderness. Like I said, Voyage is an absolutely insane and relentless ride. Where some coasters just focus on airtime or laterals, Voyage has such an even balance of both. All the elements deliver so well throughout the ride, all the way until the final brake run. Voyage is also one of the longest coasters I've ever ridden, with over 6,000 feet of track, and you can definitely tell it's that long because the ride feels like it'll never end. Voyage scores a perfect 10 out of 10, even with the trims on. Later we'll find out what I thought about trimless night rides on the Voyage, but we still had the entire rest of the park to explore. Unfortunately, during our visit, the launched B&M wing coaster Thunderbird was closed for maintenance, so we weren't able to ride it at all that weekend. So we decided to head over to the kids section of the park, Holidog's Fun Town, to knock out the Kiddie Coaster credit. This Zamperla single helix kiddie coaster is called Howler, and I gotta say, it blew me away. Howler had some of the strongest laterals and ejector airtime I've ever experienced, and it blew Voyage way out of the water. Alright, obviously, I'm kidding. Howler is a one and done. Get the credit and get out of there. 1.5 out of 10.
What a bunch of nerds. They're so nerdy.
Next, we made our way to the Halloween section of the park to try out the 2 remaining wooden coasters, Raven and Legend. First was Raven. No, not that Raven. This Raven. A CCI Woody built in 1995, Raven is the oldest of the bunch. The Raven is loosely themed to the Edgar Allan Poe poem of the same name. As Holiday World's first major wooden coaster, Raven's layout is much shorter than both Voyage and Legend. But what Raven lacks in longevity, it repays in airtime. Practically every single hill delivers very strong moments of airtime, especially this one hill halfway through the ride, commonly referred to as the Ejector Death Hill. Raven also recently had some track work done, particularly the turnaround over the water, which was butter smooth when we rode it. Like I said, Raven is pretty short and does leave a lot to be desired, but its smooth, airtime-filled ride still earns it an 8.5 out of 10. Finally, it was time for the Legend, which, like Raven, also has a vague Halloween theme, as Legend refers to the legend of the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow. Even though Raven and Legend are both Halloween-themed CCI wooden coasters, their layouts couldn't be any more different. While Raven has a short airtime-focused layout, Legend has a strong lateral-focused layout, which tears through its course. Though I slightly preferred Raven for its airtime, Legend is no joke. Its higher intensity does make it a bit rougher and harder to handle than Raven, but Legend is almost as relentless as Voyage. I give Legend another 8.5 out of 10, as Holiday World probably has the best collection of wooden coasters of any park I've been to. We then tried out Frightful Falls, the park's log flume, which was sort of below average, but it was a nice way to cool off. But then of course we had to try Voyage once more before the night of exclusive ride time and other Holliwood Nights perks began. On my second ride, I sat in the second row, got a crazy amount of room under my lap bar, and got virtually the same amount of airtime as I did in the back. It doesn't matter where you sit on the Voyage, it's incredible no matter what. Before I get into the events of the first night of Holliwood Nights, I'd like to give my condolences to the family of Don Yankovic. That evening, Yankovic suffered from internal bleeding on the Voyage and came back into the station unresponsive. Tragically, Yankovic's injuries were too severe and she passed away in the hospital later that evening. I'd like to give a moment of silence for Don Yankovic. She was 47. Because of this incident, the ride was understandably shut down for the rest of the night. But at that time, however, we did not know the exact details of what had happened. So admittedly, we were all very disappointed, and the energy of the crowd at that Holliwood Nights dinner was very, very somber. Once we had all heard the news that she had passed away, the morale became even lower. Not only were we all sad that we weren't going to get to ride the Voyage Trimless, but we then felt even worse for even thinking that that was bad news compared to somebody dying on the ride. Like I said, we were all heartbroken, for a multitude of reasons, but luckily both Raven and Legend were still open, so that's where most of us flocked to after dinner. On a much brighter note, it was so great meeting so many other roller coaster YouTubers and Instagrammers, like Adam and Tess of Theme Park Blitz, Kalaheo of Destination Thrills, Andrew of Peak Adrenaline, and so many more. Throughout the night's exclusive ride time, I got 4 more rides on Legend and 3 more on Raven. Both of these coasters were tremendous night rides, especially Legend, which was hauling. The bounty of strong laterals on Legend is definitely a bit painful, but it's almost a good kind of pain to experience such strong forces like that. After the night concluded, Ryan, Taylor, and I made our way to the group cabin. Shout out to Taylor from Coaster Studios and Cole from Park Pros for letting us stay there. Day 2 of Holliwood Nights was still in jeopardy, however, as we still didn't know whether or not the Voyage was at fault for the tragic accident which had occurred. So lots of people thought that it would remain closed the entire weekend. With that in mind, our group decided to use the first of our 2-day tickets to Kentucky Kingdom on that Saturday during the day, and then come back for night rides later. Kentucky Kingdom is only about an hour and a half away from Holiday World, but if you're crossing into the Eastern time zone like we were, it actually becomes almost a 3-hour journey because you gain an extra hour. We spent about half a day there, got plenty of rides on Storm Chaser and all the credits, but about halfway through our visit at Kentucky Kingdom, we heard the good news. Voyage had thankfully reopened. So as quickly as we could, we wrapped up our day in Louisville and headed back to Indiana. Once we got back to Holiday World, we had one priority, getting the heck back on Voyage. So that's where we went, and got one more daytime ride on the Voyage, which was the best one I had yet. And here's me without an ounce of a voice left telling you guys about it.
Luckily, Voyage is in fact open today, and I just had the best ride that I've had on it yet. Back row, got so much room, standing on those, on every hill. Oh my God, this thing is awesome. Oh my God, Voyage has not disappointed, and we haven't even tried it without trims yet, so it's just gonna keep getting better. This is a great event, and I'm glad I'm here.
After that ride, I had even higher expectations going into my trimless night rides on Voyage. Even in normal conditions, Voyage is just insanely good, giving such a great variety of forces. I couldn't even imagine how much better Voyage could possibly be without the trims on. So finally the time came. The moment we thought 24 hours prior was never going to happen, trimless Voyage night rides ensued. The ladies of Holliwood Nights were lucky enough to occupy the first 5 or 6 trains all to themselves. Really cool takeovers that G-Force has been doing. Shout out to them. Then it was 2 trains full of 2021 graduates, which I should have been on. Shout out to me. But luckily we had such a good place in line that we were on the first train immediately after the exclusive ride time trains. I gotta say, Voyage already hauls through so much of its layout, and after that first Trimless ride that I got, it was definitely faster in the second half with stronger forces, but not quite as much as I expected. See, my expectations were already sky high, and don't get me wrong, the Trimless rides were awesome, as is Voyage normally, but they weren't quite as legendary as I thought they would be. I think the main problem for this is the fact that the mid-course brake run is slanted down, and the beginning of it is slightly raised. So Voyage's trains have to rise a slight incline before going into the brake run, which slows the train down regardless of the trims. I think this is the main reason why I was disappointed, because I had imagined flying through the brake run and barely even noticing it was there, but that wasn't quite the case. So that's my minor nitpick. My huge expectations weren't exceeded, but that's not a big deal. In total, I ended the night with 7 trimless rides on the Voyage, making it 10 total rides for the trip, which is more than enough to properly rate this coaster. As I said earlier, with the trims, it's a 10 out of 10. Without the trims, it's a 10 out of 10. Either way you cut it, Voyage is elite, and any park would be lucky to have it as their star attraction. To get a break from all the exhausting trimless rides, we also tried out the park's shooting dark ride, Gobbler's Getaway, which was a lot of fun. It wasn't the craziest or most high-tech dark ride, but I really enjoyed it, and it felt like it fit the park very well. To wrap up the Holliwood Nights review, this is such a cool coaster event. Coaster enthusiasts from all over the country flock here for the first weekend in June, and it was so great meeting countless other nerds just like myself. Shout out to everyone I got to meet. There's too many of you to count, but you know who you are. The rides and the food were both great, but it was really the people who made this event so special.
Gay!
But a word of advice for next year. Let's try not chanting random roller coaster names in line. Thanks. Now, to wrap up the park review, I highly suggest everyone make the trek out to southern Indiana to experience Holiday World, regardless of whether or not you go the weekend of Holliwood Nights. Like I said, Voyage is elite, with or without trims, so just get out here and try it as soon as you can. One part of the park which I did not try out was Splashin Safari, which has 3 water coasters, and I've heard it's a really great water park, so don't miss out on that like I did. The ride and coaster collection here really is solid, but what truly makes this park a hidden gem is its needle in a haystack, or Mayflower in the ocean, the Voyage. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Seriously, thank you. If you're new to the channel or just want more and more videos just like this, hit that like button so more people can see it, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. I'd love to see this channel keep growing, but I can't do it without your help. Did you go to Holliwood Nights? What did you think of it? Leave a comment down below your thoughts on the park or the event as a whole. That's all for this Holiday World / Holliwood Nights review. This has been Coaster Jawn. Ride on.